Hey, this is Rydo, and we're back to another live stream of Shadowverse. Today is Friday, May the 14th. So let's hop into Shadowverse. And basically, since it's a Friday, we're always going to try and rush as much as possible around that. Let's see. It'll be interesting to see if maybe we have drop frames, because that whole networking issue still is a potential issue. Yep. There is definitely something that happens once the buffer fills up, where you have kind of massive amount of drop frames that happen in the first few seconds once it starts to stream, and then it kind of stops. Like immediately I'm at 422 drop frames, and on the network side almost certainly there will be 422 or thereabout 3 hours from now. So yeah, it's a weird system. Let's go ahead and replace this since it's a low level daily quest. Let's see, evolving's easy. Bloodcraft seems like what our focuses will be today. Before we do an arena, let's open some packs. So I decided to continue down the path of doing some overhaul. So the web peak has been tweaked a little bit. There was a little bit of a glitch or a pixel frame slot between the top news scroll and the second news scroll, so I adjusted and dialed in the locations. I decided to go back to the old style of the auto background generator that's really just kind of looking for a single pixel in the corner and making everything one color instead of just stretching the whole image, which means if this crawl, for instance, was missing or shut down for a reason, it would just kind of box in the image and put a top banner bar. I've lowered this peak. This is pretty small now. The corner video of Shadowverse. What I did is I was trying to keep everything to be 16:9 ratio, but honestly that's pretty small. So theoretically I'd try to bring it up to closer to being around this corner, particularly around the time that around the usage as far as Steam games. So I try to kind of stretch it this way whilst keeping the 16:9. But then that would kind of mean I need to increase the size of the scroll bars, and increasing the size of the scroll bars then has the text be very, very large, like bigger than the title of a game, so that there was kind of no balance there, and that's what I was trying to go for. I also have set it so that these new scroll bars should be kind of pixel for pixel matches of what they look like, so there's no stretching or shrinking to fit a specific space. That way it will have theoretically a smoother scroll on the ticker instead of less herky-jerky motions. The software itself is still fairly herky-jerky, so I can't figure out any way to improve that anymore. And so those are the little tweaks. At some point I was gonna, and I forgot about it, I was going to do the same thing I did with the beep audio, but instead just have a button that would mute. So a cough button instead of a beep button, since the beep button is really just for comedic effect anyways. And while I haven't been able to stop the audio from auto playing on YouTube videos. I have found a new plugin called, what is it called? It's called Unhook YouTube for Chrome, a Chrome extension that allows a lot of the advertisements and elements in embedded videos to not be shown, and in non-embedded videos to not be shown, so we can get a little bit more professional in that sense. I may very well just have to use the volume slider and the mute button on OBS to mute Chrome, because that audio probably will get fairly distracting. And honestly, I've been doing this, I've been streaming YouTube videos and trailers and things and not listening to the audio for at least a year to 3 years plus, and I've never really bemoaned the fact that I couldn't hear the audio, so it's kind of silly to try to correct for that. I was looking to learn something new, of course, and that's what I did. And now I have an option if it ever is necessary. But yeah, it doesn't mean I have to actually use the option. Same with the sensor beep. Like, just because I installed something like that doesn't mean I need to start cussing or anything to make use of it. For the accountability section, I have been on top of working and still kind of doing a little bit of overhaul. I have been somewhat working on Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, but I have also been still fairly bad about my sleep schedule and just not being awake. So I am sleeping a lot. I am just lying in bed tired a lot, and so I am very close, probably one more episode to finish Indiana Jones and Fate of Atlantis, and then I'll move on to the next game. YouTube claims they're going to add a new feature for YouTube's Upload Studio called templates that, if it is actually well implemented, could save me a lot of frustration overall as far as uploading videos. Because if I can set a template particularly and templatize the time that I want a video to come out and an episode number that would automatically increment, and the days I want things to come out that would automatically increment, then I could save myself a lot of frustration. Otherwise, if there is no incrementation, if there's no variables or programming or logic in it, and templates are just about the same as just copying and pasting content from one video to a group of videos, then it will be completely useless for me, because I can already do that, and maybe it would save me a second or two, but it isn't going to save me the 3 or 4 minutes that it tends to take me to schedule a specific video. So yeah, if they don't embrace the idea of serialization still, then it'll be useless to me. And I suspect more than likely that is what's going to happen, is that this template concept will come out and it will be fairly useless for me.
I'll design a brighter future for everyone.
Let's see, is there anything else really going on? Let's go and hit that.
This is my home. You are my food.
Hit that. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The only other thing is I just have the growing feeling of more and more back burner projects getting even pushed further and further back on the burner. Yeah, I desperately need to find some magical free time to work on my server and get it at least somewhat working. But yeah, I also don't want to waste a bunch of time around that effort.
Juicy.
And the real focus should just be to continue to play games and make content.
All to find a brighter future for everyone.
It's nice to play Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis because that definitely is a throwback, and it is definitely not a game that's frustrating me or driving me crazy or that I'm just bored with or not having fun with. Although, in all fairness, I went down the fight path since Fate of Atlantis has a puzzle path, a teamwork path, and a fighting path. I went down the fight path and spent about an hour getting to a specific point. Lost a single fight and it game overed me with no autosave or checkpoints or anything. So I had to go back to the last time I had saved and play through the whole that whole section of the game again. It wasn't too bad of an issue, but it kind of sucks. And definitely I'm looking at Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis as having 3 middle sections that they just did not bother to put the effort in to merge into one longer, better middle section. There's entire characters and scenarios that you only see on one path, and it would be easy to take the exclusive stuff and merge that into one timeline. It would also be very easy to take the best of 3 different options in each of the paths and use the other 2 options somewhere else, or just not use them at all. Alright, I'll play that. Do I want to evolve and attack? I don't know. The female lead in Fate of Atlantis is kind of a great example of the problems with having 3 branching paths, because for 2 out of the 3 branching paths, you don't even really hang out with her that much. She's just not there, missing for kind of no reason. Where I would have been fine with her as a character just being dead weight and following Indiana Jones around, not adding anything. Like, it really can't be described as anything other than LucasArts and Lucasfilms and Lucas Games not being able to write for a woman. There really is no other way to explain it.
We'll keep going, no matter what.
And there certainly could have been points where you could have split and played as the female lead.
Isn't demonic armor lovely?
Deal 2 damage. Which has to be this.
Go! Try this on for size. Become part of me. How did I miss that? Dancing in circles and circles.
Well, yeah, since there's not a lot to talk about, we should just go ahead and cover the video game news and be done with it. So here we have a game on Steam called Desperation. Again, feedback. If somebody tells me that this isn't too small, I'll be very surprised, but like See here, someone just conceded when they were about to win in an arena run, which seems insane to do that. But I will not look a gift horse in the mouth. Certainly. Alright, so here we have a game called Desperation. Looks like a survival game. Doesn't look like it's particularly any different than that. Early access 1999, English only, tagged as an MMO. Yeah, that's not going to make it to the follow list. Gamma Sutra has an article here that PUBG owner Crafton has acquired the mobile studio Dream Motion, if that means anything to you. And then Gamma Sutra has an article. A decade of mods helped devs zero in on the improvements for Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Mass Effect Legendary Edition is out there, but as someone who never played Mass Effect, I can't really imagine I'd ever want to play the new Legendary Edition. It would be the right place to jump in and play, but yeah. I just feel like that game series is too long. I'm willing to go with the Halo collection because you could power through, I think, the single player versions of the Halo collection a little bit easier than Mass Effect. If I'm going to play Mass Effect, I'm probably going to have to play it. If I were to play Mass Effect, I'd almost certainly have to play it the wrong way and just speed run towards the ending, at least of the first game. And I'm not sure I'm willing to go down that route. Like, in all seriousness, the Mass Effect series needs to be rebooted. That would make a lot more sense. Take the 3 games, streamline it into one game, probably shift it away from even being a shift it away from even being an RPG game and move it towards being a just first-person shooter game. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Chair Simulator, which clearly is just a joke game. This is free, English only. Funny thing there is you're not really ever going to be able to succeed at simulating a chair. So that puts you in a different kind of position where the one thing that something called Chair Simulator you'd want it to do, people can't have it do. Because I could certainly see trying to buy like a office chair / gaming chair and wanting an Amazon branded, Amazon.com or Walmart.com branded chair simulator. But how there's just no way to pull that off. That's one of the things that office stores kind of do have an advantage over, is that they tend to have office chairs assembled to actually sit in and feel how they feel. Not that there's much variety and quality at a standard office store. And actually you're better off going to a used furniture store, and even then you might be overcharged severely. This
is my home.
this. Gametsu has Biomutant for PC, PS4 Pro, Xbox One X, PS4 base, Xbox One base gameplay videos. So there's quite a lot of videos here. Let's see. And while I don't want to really watch this video, I will skip through here. I think I have Chrome muted, actually, because I don't hear any audio coming out, nor do I see any audio coming out. I must have gone into the volume mixer and muted them. Which that's about the worst way to pull that off. But now I did want to show, no longer are the ads popping up or anything like that at the end of the videos, which that was a source of embarrassment for a very long time, is that you just get these random ads, often not related to anything. I suppose I could show off Unhook YouTube here. Here's just like all the different things that you can hide. Now, a lot of this is just on the YouTube page anyways, but you can hide almost everything and just make a YouTube video page, just centered and larger. Still don't really have that highlighter plugin. The one I was trying didn't work, and I still don't have a way to resize the videos, which, yeah, that kind of is still an issue. Let's see, TechRaptor has an article here. Tripwire Interactive commits to remote work for its employees, which is nice. I'm not sure what Tripwire Interactive worked on. They made a game called Maneater, yeah, the shark game, and Red Orchestra and Killing Floor. I guess that's from Killing Floor, come to think of it.
Time to get started.
More and more you're gonna see people either commit to remote working, or you're going to see increasingly desperate measures to convince people to stay employed and showing up at a job. There is definitely something that occurred to me in the past week or so, that there has been a complete drop on the concept and on the push of universal basic income. I don't know why. I guess people are just busy with the pandemic and other things. There is also seemingly nothing being accomplished in Congress, because that maybe they're out of session or what, but there's been no talk about any even attempts to do anything there, which that's not particularly surprising, but yeah. So, but what I have heard the mainstream news talk about a lot is the idea that nobody wants to work anymore, and that concept just being pushed further and further. And it's like, yeah, well, I think everybody finally got together and took a vote and realized that nobody ever wanted to work in the first place. There is always that top type A personality, but nobody wants to work slave wages at a McDonald's or a restaurant that is paying them only in tips. And hopefully people will also adapt the idea of not tipping, because that's some subsidizing slave wages is not a good idea. And not really a long-term ethical thing to do.
This is God's word.
But yeah, the solution to this and introducing UBI now, while people are still in the pandemic somewhat, or maybe the United States is approaching a point where they're starting to come out in most regions of the pandemic, now would be the time
You are my food.
to once again push for that.
I'll show you something
because-
nice. Angels don't miss.
Yeah, once people have a taste of freedom and they come out of the drunken stupor of being brainwashed from age 10 to 18 that their entire life should be work, 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 have children and get a wife or husband and then work some more and then maybe retire at 70, 72 for the current generations. Like, now that people are not buying into that lie so much, it's time to reevaluate.
Truth and taboo are equal in my eyes.
I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see people trying to grow more of their own vegetables and grow more of their own food while working
This bears further
fewer
study.
hours remotely, or just being stay-at-home,
I'll show
more
you
stay-at-home
something nice.
housewives and husbands. I suspect we'll see more of that also happen.
Go! Go! Should I suffocate? Juicy. Angels don't miss.
One of the things that the pandemic has definitely given people the opportunity to do is actually pull off that experiment, certainly to see what their life would be like and what their finances would be like. Now, arguably, I imagine there is a high percentage chance, probably the majority of people who are still paying bills when they got laid off for the pandemic, and so that they're not perhaps in the best financial situation as they could have been. Like, and there probably is a high percentage of people that are still getting foreclosed on and losing their house, even though they did try their very best to pay the bills. Whereas it may have been better for some people to instead focus on just saving their money, saving their pennies, and not spending it and not paying bills.
Check this out. Try this
And so
on.
yeah, there may be some winners that
How did I miss that?
really managed to get a year or longer of free rent and be able to put that to something more long-term beneficial. And there may have been some losers that still got foreclosed on after trying their best to do right by the banks, like the banks would ever care one bit.
My beauty. How classy.
Of course, there's probably some people in the opposite categories too. There may very well be some losers that
A glimpse into the future is only
thought
the
they could get away with not paying any bills, and then it hurt them much more than it helped them.
trying calculations set. Ready
But
to set.
also, ignoring those two extreme scenarios, there are definitely people who just not having to commute, just not having to drive to work and drive back, they very well may realize that they're saving $100 a week potentially, depending on how much you're driving. I'm sure there's people out there that were commuting for that was costing $250 a week just in gasoline, let alone maintenance on the car and repair and mileage on the car.
Ow. Oh,
And
oh,
those are
ow, I
definitely
lost.
extra benefits. And you can basically not even put a price on being happier and being better slept, being away from that awful coworker, being away from that awful boss. How many employees have had an awful coworker or awful boss who would just show up in their office and talk their ear off or rant and yell at them? It's just so easy to make them either make paperwork and make evidence and do it by email or do it by Zoom if they want to yell at somebody. It's also fairly easy to fake a loss of internet. Certainly if I had an awful boss for these days, I would be like totally ready to cut my internet and just be like, oh, my internet went out, sorry, can't listen to this garbage anymore. That's the old Seinfeld joke where the guy knew he was going to get fired. George Costanza knew he was going to get fired, and he just avoided his boss as much as possible so that the boss could never fire him. I'm sure that works the other way too. I'm sure there's some bosses that have some awful employees that are always bugging them or asking questions or just basically
Time to get started.
harassing them. And so
If I'm scrap, I can still fight.
distance is better in a lot of ways. And I truly do believe even the remote learning, if the school system had truly embraced it in the United States, I think remote learning would have eventually gotten to be way better than what the local learning is, because there's just so much benefit there. If you've got, for instance, badly behaved kids that are making a disruption in a classroom, they're disrupting everybody else in the classroom. Here, you could easily have those badly behaved kids muted and or just disconnect them, and that is much quicker and easier than kicking somebody out of the room.
Let me take
Plus, remote wise, if somebody doesn't want to pay attention or if they don't want to attend, it's way easier for kids to not attend. And there definitely is a percentage of kids that just don't want to attend certain classes or any classes at all. And whether that education was done remotely or in person, I think that percentage of the dropout kids would eventually be exactly the same, if not less. Like, bullying is a complete non-issue, or it's going to be a very small issue as far as remote. Kids would have to invent a new way to online bully people at the very least. Via Zoom.
Let me take the lead.
But the one thing that remote education doesn't do is provide childcare, and that's sadly all education really is in the minds of many teachers and frankly most parents. Is first and foremost it's childcare, and there's just too many parents out there that don't want to have to deal with their kids 24/7.
Bop and roll.
Let's go ahead and evolve the bloodthirsty hamster.
Let me take the lead.
What brings you here, miscreants?
Yeah. So I'm kind of just rambling here, and it's Friday, but we have a decent amount of stuff to talk about, so I really don't have extra time. We also have the followers cleanup. Certainly I could work on that some more, even though I did work on it on Thursday. I mean Wednesday. Anyways. Let's see. Strike. Does 1 damage to both leaders.
Isn't demonic armor lovely?
Evolve that.
Hey, check this out! Try this on for size. Become part of me.
And then I guess we have to do that.
My beauty, let me take
And
a
do
look.
that.
I hope to understand you.
And then
How
down in
about
the
we
field.
have some fun?
Pop and roll.
Hit that. So moving on, TechRaptor has an article, Survive the Depths in Until We Die, coming June 2021. More and more we're getting announcements. There's a free demo on Steam. Announcements for new games.
The god of all.
It almost kind of feels like a Metro game if you made a flat 2D Metro game.
Just have to try.
Okay. You gotta play this.
So delightful.
And then I suppose we do this.
No one else has to
And
know.
then this.
Oh, ouch!
I would have liked to play this. So I would have needed 4 more damage. But I didn't have it, so I'm gonna lose.
I'm coming for you. I lost. You're tough.
By the time I get around to this Bloody Mary card, I don't have enough copies of it, and I don't have enough of a strategy to one-turn win. Here we have a game on Steam called Strife the Expanse, which looks like a hex grid based RPG. It says turn-based tactics game. It's $1.59. It has a VR mode. It's English only. Visually, it does not look interesting. So I'm going to say no to that. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article here.
Time to
A
get
gaming
started.
NFT
I
company
guess you're
called
looking for a fight.
Animoca brand raises 88.88 million. That is a shame. Like, there definitely is a case where people are kind of desperate for any potential way to become rich quick, as it were. Let's see. G4 TV announced this another host, not hero. I don't know why I said host, called Gina Darling. Seems like they're continuously just adding more characters, and it's a lot of people. It really is hard to believe that this is really going to be anything other than a collab of streamers and Twitch people at this point. Like, I can't imagine you would need that many people to launch something that would have been like a TV channel, because I would, yeah, it would just be very weird to potentially have a G4 TV channel come out and then there would be 5 or 6 shows brand new. I suppose prime time, if you go like 4 hours of prime time and each show is only 30 minutes long, plus you have the factor of video game coverage requiring people, or at least hopefully requiring people to actually play the game all the way to the end.
For now.
So that there's maybe a factor in that also, where maybe they're going to cycle in and out of people. But I have a hard time believing that, really. I think G4, when it comes out, is just going to be a collection, a Twitch channel that is just kind of almost always streaming. Which honestly, if you were going to just make a streaming collaboration between a bunch of people that you think you can make famous on Twitch, using G4 to accomplish that is not wrong. It's not a bad plan. Let's do this and this, and then evolve this. And attack here.
Unbelievable.
Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called Conquest Medieval Kingdoms, which looks nothing like nothing. $9.99. It's just a lesser visual quality, totally accurate battle simulator from the looks of it. Here we have a game called One to Blame, which looks like it is a Among Us clone, set not in space, instead set somewhat in like a murder mansion. It's $4.24. It's online PvP. Yeah, it's not the kind of game I would cover, so really can't go any further with that.
I'm powerless. For now.
Still just trying to activate vengeance, I suppose. See, TechRaptor has an article here. Monopoly Life Size brings game thrills to real life. I wonder if this is a TV show. It begins August 14th. Tickets are available for purchase. It's taking place in the UK, said to last about 75 minutes, which is shorter than an average Monopoly game in my experience. Yep. That sounds silly, to say the least. And honestly, I don't know what a life-size Monopoly game brings to the table, because Monopoly generally kind of sucks, so making it bigger just highlights the suckiness of it. Like, and that's probably true for most board games, is that they don't easily convert to 3D or life-size versions or make any sense.
I'll design a brighter future for everyone. Now a nightmare begins.
Honestly, like, off the top of my head, like, checkers in the real world might be the most interesting thing to see. If you had just two teams of parkour people and so they were jumping and leaping and gymnasticking over each other. There might be something interesting there, where each person represents a checker piece. Might be something there. Or if you had chess and then you had a bunch of LARPers, like live action role players, in suits of armor, doing staged fights. It would be dangerous, certainly, but there might be something interesting there. But
Stay out of my axis reach.
like Monopoly, you're gonna have what, maybe buildings
Check this out.
and maybe different set decorations for each location.
I'm out of cash? Unbelievable!
I'm about to lose. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Maybe you could do Battleship if you had people like throwing Nerf balls over a wall, trying to hit each other. That would just be kind of a variation of dodgeball. And sure, you can have Clue and try and get people to role play playing Clue, like the Clue movie, and that might work somewhat well, but I doubt it. If anything, I would just be more interested in seeing people play a Monopoly tournament, or honestly, I'd be much more interested in seeing people play just Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons. Something like that. Yeah. There probably is a way you could take somebody's long-running experience on something like Critical Role, playing Dungeons and Dragons, and then hire actors or have some kind of animation to bring that to life. There certainly are plenty of improv people, I'm sure, that don't have much work these days that would be more than willing to improv scenes as they go along, trying to potentially succeed, trying to recreate what they're seeing. See, right. Well, the day reset, weirdly, so we're just back to doing what we were doing. Another attempt to get 3 victories with Bloodcraft. Moving on, we have Draw It, which looks like it's a VR drawing of things with a weird kind of yarn aesthetic to it, which I don't really appreciate that. Like, it just makes it weirder. $2.99, English only. Seems to maybe have some physics around it also. Here we have a game called Detective Puzz, which looks like a Hitman Go clone.
I can still fight.
Unfortunately, I didn't really enjoy Hitman Go enough to want to play more of that. $5.99, English only. If you did enjoy Hitman Go and wanted more puzzles, then this might be interesting. Almost certainly at some point somebody's going to just copy the exact same puzzles from Lara Croft Go or Hitman Go, and people are not even going to really recognize that that's what's happening. Let's see. TechRaptor has an opinion piece here. Near Replicant is proof that games should get a second chance. Now, the question, I suppose, is, was Near Replicant particularly a bad game in the first place, or was it a fine game? Because I kind of think it was a fine game and fairly well received when it originally came out, and at that point, if it was a fine kind of single A game or even double A game, and it gets a re-release in the same way that everything else gets a re-release, then there really isn't any big difference there. If anything, nowadays almost every game gets a new release. We have yet to see an example of an awful game get a re-release. And certainly this wouldn't have gotten a re-release if Nier Automata hadn't succeeded. I think I vaguely recall seeing commercials with the floating book on G4.
Coming for you.
And certainly the anime girl in the lingerie and the crazy outfits, slightly inspired by the crazy Final Fantasy fashion, I'm sure. See, it got a 68 on Metacritic. That's not terrible. Like 75 is about average on Metacritic, and so it's not a big deal there. Not a big difference between 75 and 68. I'd like to see somebody that see some of these games, particularly on Steam, that get just horrible reviews because they don't play well and they haven't been ported well. Games that really have just been shoveled out there, and I'd like to see one of those potentially given a second chance. And that's something we won't, I'm sure, ever really see. Or, you know, Yandere Simulator put out a new video, and there's an example of a game where I'd like to see the Yandere Simulator game as it is now, and the demo that was originally liked and released. I'd like to see that get remade by a completely different person. But yeah, or you could list probably a dozen development hell games that could be really fun if they were remade or re-released. Two Humans, a great example of that. If Two Human got remade and re-released as more of just a hack and slash action game, away from its more kind of Diablo looter shooter type experience, if that got re-released and somehow was well received, then I would be happy with seeing more games in that series. Or some of the more obscure PC games could get remakes, certainly. But, you know, there is also a high chance that anything you do is not really going to make your money back, since it's so expensive to develop games. And you have to make so much profit on them.
Try the double. It's good, isn't it? I will save you a counter seat.
Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Mission Mars, which just looks like an asset flip first-person shooter. It's a $17.99 English only. Here we have a game called Dobo's Heroes, which looks like a platformer. See, these stay muted because these are all on Steam. I don't know if there's enough game here. It looks like you just have like one character that turns into a platform, and then you jump on that platform to reach the next area. And that seems like that's kind of all it is. Let's see, $1.59 English, Portuguese, Brazil. I think we can leave that off the follow list. Like, sure, I could put it on the follow list, but it seems like it's already somewhere around a rating of 59% with just one review, and I don't even know how you get 60% with one negative review, but yeah. Actually, it's one positive review on Steam, so I don't know where Steam DB's percentage is even coming from. But yeah, I could put it on the follow list. I just don't think there's reason to. I'm willing to assume that it's not going to be the best platformer of the year. Next we have a game called Super Swarm Smash, which is a bug-based tower defense game, obviously. Looks like it might have been a mobile game, although it is widescreen. $3.99. Nothing there. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article here. Mr. Prepper Creative Mode update lets you build in peace. Which, honestly, that is something that I think I would very much appreciate on the idea of building a prepper thing. Now, why is this page, though, zoomed in this way? There's something wrong with this page. Like, the way they spaced this image, they spaced it so it would go all the way to the edges. Or the way I did something. That's also a possibility that I did something. So, yeah, well, not worrying about that. That idea is intriguing, certainly, to play a prepper game. Although I don't know how far just an unlimited mode or game mode playing as a prepper. Like, in the reality, if I am going to do anything with this prepper I kind of want to do that in the real world and actually prepare for emergencies, and I only want to do that to a certain level of extreme. I don't want to make it my whole life or become obsessed with the idea of prepping. So playing a video game around that might be interesting, might be redundant. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article. Disco Elysium, the final cut, has been cleared for sale in Australia after a rating review. It was banned from sale and refused classification previously. And kind of not for a good reason, at least in my American perspective. Like, because, like, I think it was not allowed classification simply because there was a drug that gave positive benefits, and basically you can never depict drugs as having any positive benefits at all. It's very propaganda-ish, and in Australia's government, and I don't know if not a significant amount of their people too, because are very conservative. Like, and see, that's the weirdness, is like, it's very easy to come from the idea that the only conservatives that exist in the world are just Republicans in the United States, and And that's just not true. There are many countries and many people all around the world that have much more conservative leaning ideologies. And I guess the Vatican City would probably be up there as the most conservative ones. And then also, you certainly have just different governments all over the place that have different things they focus on. So, while I wouldn't call the UK particularly conservative, I would call them fairly liberal and still creating a nanny state that would censor and ban video games. So, same outcome for different reasons, or at least different stated reasons. Moving on, we have Soko Cat Islands, which is a Sokoban game with a cat pushing boxes. Box pushing game. $1.59 English, Portuguese, Brazil.
Time to get started.
Let's see. Gematsu has Alteus Beyond Cronus DLC episode Yamato announced. Let's see what this looks like. We got an anime boy with his belly showing. And then an anime girl. None of them look particularly well animated. They seem to be controlling mechs fighting each other. Apparently it's an Oculus enabled game, if not Oculus only. It's labeled for the PS4 and PC, due for the Oculus Quest 1 and 2. There might be a sales point around the idea of controlling a mech in an Oculus game. Let's see. TechRaptor has Before We Leave review, which looks like it is some kind of hex grid resource management game, city management game. Let's see. He gave it a 5.5. Before We Leave is a non-violent 4X strategy game. I don't use that phrase 4X probably as much as I should. That is perfect for newcomers, but there is a lack of challenge and overly simplified mechanics will leave veterans of the genre bored. Pros are beautiful design, great UI, very accessible for beginners. Cons are overly simplified mechanics, no goals or direction, and it's far too easy. Sorry, I paused there for a second. Let's see. TechRaptor has a review combines city building and economics in High Rise City, which apparently is a new game that's been announced. Doesn't look much different than any other city builder type game. Let's see. Okay. Here we have Mass Effect Legendary Edition on Steam. It is on Steam, which honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if it was just an Epic exclusive or something. Again, I really feel like I would just have to rush through this game, these trilogy of games. I'm gonna put this on the follow list because I want to see how many reviews it gets a little bit later. You can see it's 71% positive right now with 89 reviews in the first day it's out. So far people are having fun with it. Although in all fairness, this is such a long-running game there is a possibility that it gets like way worse, or there are game breaking bugs or something that show up later.
Go! Go!
So that is another reason to potentially
Time to dance!
wait and see. There is something interesting as far as the screenshots that are being shown here and the trailers that are being shown. They are highlighting characters specifically from the first game, I think, more than anything else. What we don't see here is the nearly naked, crazy looking girl with all the tattoos from the second or third game. And in a weird way, they probably can't emphasize the third game too much. So they really have to sell and push this game from the first one, which is the least relevant, really, I think, of the story. Okay. Can I evolve?
Hey, check this out!
I am the thunder of war incarnate.
Apparently no.
What a troublemaker!
Impossible!
So let's hit that instead. Suppose it is worth mentioning, cam angles were changed to show less booty, mostly on Miranda. Femshep upskirt camo was altered during some sitting scenes. Game is yet to be released at time of writing. So yeah, has been some talk around that, but honestly, I don't think that's much of a legitimate argument. Because I'm gonna have to pause for a second to make sure, like, someone's ringing my doorbell or not. 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. It was just a package, not a big deal. So yeah, I don't think that there's really much of a legitimate argument around hating or not hating Mass Effect, because they made these tiny little changes, tiny little woke censorship things. I think that the bigger issue is you've got a trilogy series there that just did not do well as it should have, and then you have Mass Effect Andromeda, and you're probably better off playing Dragon Age as a series. Like, the mature content rating here, Bill says not appropriate. It may contain, the may part is stupid here. It does contain content not appropriate for all ages. or may not be appropriate for viewing at work. It includes nudity and or sexual content. I'm not sure there actually is any nudity, but I bet there is. Frequent violence and gore, definitely general mature content, depending, of course, on your definition of what mature content is. Let's see. Hit that.
This is God's wood.
Big trouble now.
Okay, this one's all gotta help a bloodkin in need.
And
Come on in. Take a seat.
Piece of cake.
let's see. Here we have like a review. The remaster is actually really good with a few issues. You can tell a lot of care and effort has been put into it. And then you have the PC port, which is a steaming pile of poop. No graphical options, forced mouse acceleration, no field of view slider, pillar boxed ultra wide. The list continues. Hopefully mods. So yeah.
I'll destroy you all.
Surround sound not working on Mass Effect 1.
I'll destroy you all.
So yeah, there's definitely some PC port issues specific, I think, to Mass Effect. Which that's also not particularly surprising that they wouldn't have focused their real energy on making a PC version of Mass Effect. They want instead to be able to resell the games on consoles for the Mass Effect 4 game that they're obviously that they have announced they're working on. Okay.
I'll show you something nice.
It's good, isn't it?
Moving on, Gamatsu. Grindstone is coming to PC on May 20th. The Fortune Grind update now available for Switch and Apple Arcade. This is... what kind of game is this, actually? Kind of looks like a Dragon Line match the characters to then gain enough power to attack.
I will send you a counter seat.
Interesting.
Now a nightmare begins.
So it's kind of like a duel matching game. Well, that looks like that might be interesting to play. It was released at the Epic Game Store on May 20th. So it may never come to Steam still.
Come on! I want to see those smiles!
Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called Diego Mission Red Tomato, which doesn't look like anything. Early access, 69 cents, 40 achievements, several languages, allegedly supported. Nothing there of interest. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article. Itch.io's first creator day gives devs 100% of game revenue for 24 hours, which, okay. Yay. I doubt that's particularly a large amount of revenue anyways, for Itch.io.
Did I overreach myself?
Next we have a game on Steam called Cyberpunk Dreams, all squished together as one word. Looks like it is a
You'll find gizmos like this
poorly
everywhere, Lenny.
designed
You'll find gizmos like this
visual
everywhere, Lenny.
novel, for lack of a better term, unless it's some kind of make your own visual novel element. It's free to play with a third-party account and third-party EULA, English only, and in-app purchases. It might be a make your own visual novel stuff.
Impossible! This is my home. You are my food.
Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called Oben, which looks like it might be slightly more visually polished, although it may still just be an asset flip game. Let's watch the trailer and see if that gives me any more bits of information. I'm seeing him wander around and nearly fall off and being chased by beings of light. Yeah, I just don't think there's enough polish here. Early access, $5.39. English full audio in Spain Spanish and Latin American Spanish. Yeah, I'm gonna skip it. 2 damage and 3.
Oh, what? Impossible!
And
I'll take
5 there.
compensation of the production.
And go ahead and play that.
Blood and pain awaken me.
And the attack there. See, next we have Deck Adventures Prologue, which is clearly a demo for some kind of deck building RPG game. 8-bit RPG game. $6.99. English and Spain Spanish. Nothing there of appeal. Here we have a game called The Adventures of Mr. Poop, which clearly is just a low effort joke game for $1.49. English, Russian only languages. I'm just getting wrecked here. I need a game-changing card in the next draw if I was going to win.
I can devour your dreams.
You're in my way.
No, it's not game-changing.
Massacre.
So unless I can get this guy to draw 5 cards in the next turn, 4 cards in the next turn,
I lost. You're tough.
yep, I doubt we're gonna win today. At least in this attempt. Clearly I need to rebuild the unlimited decks and try and do better with those. But I guess after this tournament I can use the tournament winning decks to try and rebuild all of those decks. Although that does make an argument that I probably should rebuild or try to rebuild all of the rotation decks first before this tournament ends. So I should take some extra time and try that. Let's see. Here we have a game on Steam called Save the Heart Planet,
Time to
which
get started. I guess
seems
you're
to
looking
be
for a fight.
just an asset flip game. Yeah, I don't think that concept of a planet that was a giant heart alone is enough of a concept to interest me. Now, maybe if you were on a planet that was a giant body in general, so that the final boss was this giant heart, and you were fighting something that would kind of look like and feel like Returnal, possibly. And there would be kinds of antibodies flying around, shooting you and attacking you. And let's say you had to work your way up a hand and through a shoulder, through lungs, through a heart, through a brain. If there were entire giant open world levels, each representing a specific organ, that might be an idea. So that you were fighting an entire planet. Yeah, you could probably make a horror game around that concept. Or it's at least the beginning of an idea.
I'm powerless for now.
Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called Altruism, which looks like just an asset flip RPG game. Doesn't seem like the character really is doing anything too altruistic. It's basically a RPG low effort game where you do side quests for people. $3.99, third party EULA, English only. Honestly, if Steam simply said they were going to refuse to do business with people who demanded a third-party end-user license agreement, except for, say, the top-tier companies, so like Ubisoft, EA, they can have a third-party EULA, but everybody else that's doing the $100 Steam Direct must sell the game under the terms of Valve on the Valve Steam storefront. You could get, maybe 70, maybe not 70, maybe 7% of all bad games and all bad publishers. Just get rid of them immediately, because the people that would fight that and complain about that are more than likely not the people worth continuing to do business with. Whereas smaller developers would probably be more than happy to agree to that term. And most developers of good games don't bother to put a third-party EULA in their game. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Livewire, which is a swing shooting game. It doesn't look very polished. No, I don't think the color palette here is particularly good either. Free to play, online PvP, third party EULA again. Suppose we either want to kill this guy or
What a troublemaker!
No! Unbelievable!
TechRaptor has an article. The Metabots Classic Switch port allegedly illegally uses the MGBA emulator, which a lot of emulators are not allowed to be used in commercial endeavors. And I would not be surprised if this is totally true, because I wouldn't be surprised if there are some game companies out there that figured they wouldn't get caught using the emulators. The thing about the emulators is they have ways of, the emulator creators have ways of detecting whether something is running on their emulator. Intentional mistakes put into the code so that it only works this way. Remember there was that whole big analysis of the what is his name? Steve Wiebe, King of Kong guy, who allegedly was a cheater on Donkey Kong and was using an emulator, and how they were saying how his video was depicting gameplay that could not have been done through the original hardware. What's funny there is
Time to get started.
Let's get this party started.
is that there probably is an emulator they could have used for their own purposes, and people wouldn't have complained. Honestly, it seems to me like they may just be upset because it doesn't credit the original creator, including in its open source disclosures, which maybe that is all the MGBA emulator creator wanted. Let's see. It fails to credit them anywhere, even in the open source disclosure. That would mean Nintendo is shipping a pirated emulator and a third-party title. Probably isn't the first time they've done that. What's interesting also is that Metabots is known as Metarots in Japan. I didn't know that. Metabots was definitely a distant third to Digimon, which was a far second from Pokemon as far as the series, because it's kids that have these robots that fight, and when a robot defeats another robot, they get a piece of that robot's body to build up and strengthen their robot, their Metabot. And yeah, it was popular enough, but not particularly popular. I don't know if even an entire season was translated and brought to America. The limiting factor of them all being robots pales in comparison to Digimon, which could be any kind of monster, which pales in comparison to Pokemon, which can be any kind of animal that they can imagine, and Pokemon had enough fandom and budget to imagine a lot of animals. Also, because Pokemon is set in the world of Pokemon, it has no connection to the real world, which makes it a little bit easier of a story to write compared to Digimon, where the kids in Digimon were from the real world and they moved over to the digital world, and Metabots, where it was just kids in the real world with robots. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. Xbox has partnered with the Tencent-owned Team Studios to create new game content. They made Honor of Kings. Let's see. We're not particularly sure what game they would make, if it's some kind of mobile game perhaps for Halo or some other Microsoft-owned property, or if it's going in a different direction, and it's going to be a AA or AAA game.
Ooh, my stomach.
Here we have a game on Steam called World Hunt Fever, which is just a World Hunt game. English, Spanish, and Portuguese, Brazil. Languages, Spain, Spanish.
My throat's bone dry.
Let's see. TechRaptor has an article here. The Dying Light 2 AMA reveals that there will be no romance options, and there will be returning characters. I guess the question was, were there romance options in Dying Light 1? Because I don't feel like there were. I guess you could read this AMA if you're interested. That is quite the outfit to wear during an AMA as the associate producer. The title of associate producer is kind of a weird one too. Associate meaning non-management level and not senior level, although you might be a senior associate something. It's very weird when combined with the phrase producer, meaning a management level position in charge of making sure things happen. So, but it is not uncommon in general for titles to get insanely ridiculous and not really mean what they mean at all.
I go with the wind.
And I honestly, in video game development, have to wonder if you should use the associate phrase at all. Like game programmer, I don't know if you really need a associate game programmer versus a senior game programmer versus a game director. Or head of programming, or programmer manager.
Don't get the wrong idea.
Hey, no dirty tricks.
Let's see. Well, the lady's outfit's not much worse than the guy's outfit. Then they seem to all be sitting in the same chair, unless they've just green screened themselves and the chair out. And it's this guy that's doing the actual talking until question 7. And then it's this girl. And it's back to this guy. And he's wearing a different shirt than what he was wearing before. See, I don't see where he's here. Should I have the subtitles on? I think they've hard burned subtitles into this, because I don't think I have the subtitles on. Doesn't seem like there's an option for that at the moment. And see, then he's back to the shirt again, so clearly this was not done during the same period. Dying Light doing an AMA, or Dying Light 2 having an AMA done about it, is not particularly a high priority for me. I would much rather just see them have a good product, finished product, ready to go, because there's been some delay there and some development hell there. That is something that needs to be addressed, I think. Alright, well, now we can move over to rotation after being kind of forced to do 2 of those. We can play a different Bloodcraft game. Alright, well, the timer is reset as far as anime girl slide puzzles and games tagged with sexual content and nudity. This game in particular, Yummy Girl, seems to have a lot of anime girls with a lot of cleavage going on. And it seems like it is just a slide puzzle game that happens to have a lot of screenshots of characters eating food, drinking food, eating sweets as the pictures, as a theme. It's 79 cents, bunch of languages. But yeah, once again we have a scenario where the thought of censorship seems not to be all-encompassing as far as Valve and Steam, because
Punishment awaits.
this would be an obvious one to be rejected. These are live 2D animations from the looks of it, because the girls bounce up and down in the pictures, in the video. Let's see. Gametsu has the Neo The World Ends With You with more details, more characters, if you want to kind of spoil the game, I suppose. You can look that up. I'm not sure that the first World Ends With You ever actually came to Steam. If it has, I probably should get around to playing it, or I'd like to play it, even though I know it's kind of a rhythm game, and so the rhythm game itself may not particularly work too well for me. But I still want to potentially give it a try. Let's see. Moving on, Gametsu has an article here. Former Epic Games and Blizzard Entertainment developers have established yet another company called Lightforge Games, which is about the third or fourth company to have been established by former employees of Blizzard. Epic Games, not so many people jumping ship from Epic Games, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we start to hear more of that as the Epic Games Store doesn't immediately become a success and Fortnite is still not on the
Are you as excited
iOS
as I am?
storefront.
How are you?
Let's just, I guess, hit that. That's all I think I can do.
I'm so excited.
Let's see. They're currently developing cross-platform social video game where players have the power to create worlds and tell stories with unprecedented freedom, which that's a big claim, certainly. It'll take a while before they really have anything to show, I imagine.
Save you all.
Let me
Tech
touch
Raptor has an
you.
article. Asmodee announces a new Pandemic Hot Zone game. Pandemic Hot Zone Europe. This is a board game, though, not a digital game, as Asmodee makes both.
I won't hurt you
Ow.
too much.
I'm gonna scoop out your guts.
How
Here I
would
go.
you always?
Do I want to kill this guy or do I want to wait?
I'm so excited.
Tech Raptor has an article here. Sega wants to bring back some of its old IPs. Sega always wants to bring back its old IPs. If anything, that has been the method of operating, of operations for Sega since like the Sega Genesis. Really, like they're constantly trying to live on Sonic while kind of failing. So here's some ones that they have listed in this slideshow here. The Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Space Channel 5, Rez, Panzer Dragoon Knights, Shinobi, Virtual Fighter, Altered Beast, House of the Dead, Streets of Rage, and Soul Hackers. I've never heard of that one. I've seen re-releases of many of these games, and most of these games are purchasable. right now. So and then they have 3 options here, is to either reboot, remake, or remaster. Whereas I think pretty much all of these games only benefit slightly from a remaster. You could remaster Res and not much would really change there. The graphics probably wouldn't even look that different. Or you could remake some of these if they played particularly terribly. Crazy Taxi might have some control issues that might work better if they were remade, but honestly, if you really want to do something with your IPs, you've got to reboot them. And if you're going to reboot them, you're in the big expense series. And the question will certainly come from, what of these are they going to neglect so that they can work on these? They could probably neglect Football Manager fine, and Total War fine. They kind of need to make a Sonic game of some sort. The Yakuza, Persona, and the Megami Tensei series, they can't neglect. Fantasy on Star, I think, is pretty much as neglected as they can go.
Vested in me. Ow. Ow. Ow.
But yeah, there's a lot of talk there, but I really don't have a lot of faith in Sega to do anything there.
Here I go. This whip is an extension of myself. Hey, check this out. I'm sick of being whipsy daisy.
That,
You
Here I
are
go.
forgiven.
that still wasn't enough. TechRaptor has an article. Target has temporarily halted the sale of Pokemon cards.
I lost.
Apparently it was getting really crazy as far as people trying to buy cards, trading cards of any kind. So effective May 14th, according to the sign, Major League Baseball, National Football League, National Basketball Association, and Pokemon trading cards will no longer be sold in stores until further notice. Which probably means you can get into some kind of lottery to buy them online, or just buy them online. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article here. Square Enix financials revealed that they're thinking about NFTs, which, yeah, that definitely wouldn't surprise me if everybody is thinking about NFTs. TechRaptor has an article here. Power A Fusion Pro Wired Xbox controller review, which is a review for a controller, which
Time to get started.
it looks fine. I guess it really would just come down to the price versus the Microsoft Pro controller, really. Says the Power A Fusion Pro wired Xbox controller is an excellent replacement to an Elite controller, with a few caveats that hold it back from being the obvious best in the market. What were the caveats, though? I guess I'd have to read the whole article to find out what the caveats are. I don't think I want to bother to spend the time on that. In all honesty, I don't think I can justify buying an Elite controller anyways. I probably will be slow to even update my current controller until it actually breaks. Also, with the fact that I'm not playing as much as I would like to be playing as far as games, it's hard to justify needing a new controller if you're not wearing down the old one. Let's see, moving on. TechRaptor has the E3 2021. We'll have virtual booths, online interaction, and more. Okay. Let's see. Greg Miller, which Greg Miller I thought was at one time a host of Kind of Funny Games. I'm not sure if he was one of the ones that was canceled or just quit doing it, or if he's still there. Jackie Jing, I have no idea who she is. I've never heard of her. Plus, she's wearing a Marvel t-shirt, so I kind of think she might be a comic book geek more than a video game geek, and or a cosplayer. Also, let's just look at the issue here. You have a guy with a full tie and a sports coat and suit, basically. And then you have an unbuttoned shirt, which is a little less professional. This guy's might, you can even see a lapel mic. And then you have the girl here with her hair long flowing in front of her and showing off some cleavage, not a lot really, but some, and wearing a Marvel t-shirt. There definitely should have been somebody when putting together and composing these pictures, and we've seen this before. There needs to be somebody saying, hey, here's the dress code, here's what we're looking for. Somebody on the ESRB site. This guy's apparently called Golden Boy, which again, going by an alias as your host, it seems weird. You could say, quote, Golden Boy and then the real name, but if you're going to be on the stage of E3, you probably need to say your real name. Now all of this will be happening on Twitch and YouTube, which in a funny way might mean that if I actually cared to cover E3, this probably would be a very good year to do it. But I don't really. Yeah, I tried it a couple years back and there's just not really anything that interesting to talk about.
Up and running.
I tried to, as they were talking, make a running list about what games were talked about and have that on screen so people know, and that didn't really work that way. And even with the desktop ticker, I would basically have to make an RSS feed and update that live to get that to work. Yeah, I'm just having a hard time imagining there's something there that's worth covering.
Go! Go!
Hunger is sharp refreshness guaranteed.
Such a good guinea pig.
Let's see. Moving on. TechRaptor has free PlayStation Play at Home content arrives this month, which includes Rocket League Brawlhalla, or elements in Rocket League Brawlhalla, Destruction All Stars, MLB The Show, NBA 2K21, Rogue Company, World of Tanks and World of Warships, Warframe, also Call of Duty Warzone, which TechRaptor usually doesn't talk about any of that, so that probably does highlight. It probably highlights just how little news there is.
Check this out!
Okay. Let's see. TechRaptor has a review for Assassin's Creed Valhalla Wrath of the Druids,
The world artifact.
which kind of forgotten about Assassin's Creed Valhalla even existing. I'm still thinking about Assassin's Creed Origins. Let's see. They gave it an 8.0. I loved the Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so I loved my time with the Wrath of the Druids, but after a 55-hour base game, a change of pace would have been a very welcome. Pros, gorgeous landscapes with lots to see, focus on mythological monsters and magic, satisfying core gameplay loop. Cons, basically just more of the base game. Which, alright. That's not super surprising.
I shall give birth to a new world.
I want to put this on the field.
True access. Splurge. Consume it all.
See, Gamma Sutra has a job listing. Disbelief is hiring a senior programmer. And this job listing has been around for a while. We've seen it several times. Let's see. Gamma Sutra says the Nintendo Switch production is more uncertain due to the semiconductor shortage. Which I assume
I lost.
means that they're going to try and make more Switches, but not any new versions of the Switches. Really. There was also a metric that like 20% of all the Switch sales this year, I believe it was the metric, went to people who already had a Switch. So it's people either upgrading or replacing. Let's see. Sega Sammy reports a year-over-year jump in game sales despite fewer new releases, according to Gamma Sutra. Let's see. Digital software and titles are driving sales at Square Enix. Obviously, it was the end of the quarter for all of these video game companies, and that's why all the reports came in at the same time.
All you know?
Tech Raptor has this article. Animal Crossing bathtub glitch lets you play in the pool. You can transport your player character into bathtubs and water to cool down for the summer. Which, was that supposed to be a glitch? Like that seems intentional. I mean, all these characters look like they have bathing caps on, so maybe this was just something that was supposed to work in like the Asian version of the game, and they didn't port it to the Western version of the game out of fear of controversy. Like, see, seemingly all these characters look like they have just either regular clothes or bathing towels on, and these definitely look like Japanese bathtubs. And here you've got two girls bathing together. And here you've got a whole group of girls, it looks like, bathing together. Yeah. Seems kind of ridiculous that you couldn't just walk up to a bathtub and press a button and hop in almost any game. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Xbox Party Chat is becoming more accessible with speech transcription and synthesis, which we fairly were certain that speech transcription was happening in the background anyways for moderation reasons. So maybe they've finally gotten it to the point where it's really useful. Here they have an example of Minecraft, which had added similar features a while ago. Speech synthesis is also somewhat helpful if you don't speak well or can't speak at all. and want to be able to communicate quickly and easily, or slightly more easier with people. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article. Discord shows off its stage's discoverability features and pushes for inclusivity. Which, okay. Which, looking at the screenshot in these live stages, these don't feel like Discord chat forums for video games anymore. And I know that hasn't been their focus, but yeah, that feels weird.
Your mincemeat. Today we'll lift some heavy scriptures.
Let's see. Gamma Sutra has Grove Street Games hiring a systems engineer in Gainesville, Florida. Yeah. Deal 3 damage to an enemy follower.
And that concludes
Okay.
today's sermon. Go! Go!
Just
Crazy, crazier!
keep attacking with this one. Not completely video game related, but apparently only 6% of iOS 14.5 users chose to opt in to ad tracking so far, which really highlights how many people were not happy with and did not want ad tracking. Once Apple, in their totalitarian way, forced a notification on people, people chose not to opt in. I'm yawning already. I started late today too. Like, I thought I was gonna start at like 11 in the morning, and I really started at 1 in the afternoon, so I somehow blinked and wasted 3 hours. Which does seem to happen more and more these days. Here's that article from Gamma Sutra. 20% of last year's Nintendo Switch sales were to households that already owned one. And yeah, last year and this year, as far as the lineup of games coming out, were not particularly appealing to me. So while I still have a desire to want a Switch, that desire has not increased. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article. DJ Hero Remixed has mysteriously appeared in Steam's database. Which, yeah, I don't know if this is just going to be keyboard to control the buttons on a DJ Hero Remixed. Also, as a YouTuber, how do I cover a game like DJ Hero Remixed? I pretty much can't. Also, as somebody who has really no tone, I don't think I would play a game like this. But I do like the idea of it being on Steam. Of course, there is a danger alone that, like, I potentially would buy DJ Hero and then let's see, and then never get around to playing it. And
shall give birth to a new world.
in the process of never getting around to playing DJ Hero Remixed, it then loses the licenses to a bunch of music 4 or 5 years down the road, and then the game is fairly useless or completely useless. So I would recommend to anybody who would buy DJ Hero Remix to really think about, are you going to play the game? Are you going to listen to the music? Is there going
world cycles on.
to are you going to be satisfied with that first few years of the lineup, with the potential that the lineup becomes non-existent or after a certain point? Unless DJ Hero Remix manages to have negotiated a license forever, which seems like that's unlikely. Gematsu has The Legend of Heroes, Kuro no Kisukai, detailing more locations and people, as it were. Yep. Them particularly focusing on locations and objects doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Might make a lot more sense to people who are deep into the lore of Legend of Heroes.
What you need is a nice roaring flame.
Let's see. Gematsu has the ultimate visual novel Kings of Paradise coming to the Switch on May 27th. And here you have an older style of animation of a girl and that guy kissing.
The time for judgment and redemption has come.
Yep, this one feels like it's more focused around one specific couple relationship than having a wide selection of so do 12 damage, which I'm not sure we're ready for.
Feel my fury. Rage empowers me. Hey, check this out. This world is mine.
Can we activate some more things?
Cry for me. Scream for me.
We can hit that, and then that's all we can really do. But if I can get even one extra damage, then we will be fairly well suited. Or we would have been fairly well suited. Actually, we may still win here. Which we're just looking for 2 victories today, and that's kind of it. Of course, there's been many days in Shadowverse where we
My will.
haven't even gotten that small bit of success. Alright, well, let's play this and then do nothing else. So if they do 1 damage to themselves in this turn, they'll lose.
I shall give birth to a new world.
Unless they heal, of course. Now I need to figure out another way to win. Gamatsu has Dragon Quest 35th Anniversary Special live stream set for May 27th, which there's plenty of Dragon Quest games to talk about, certainly at any point. 3 damage at max. Cover 3 play points. Storm. Let's see if this works.
Everything in your path. 3001 talents. Sink.
The world cycles on.
Okay, this one's all me.
The ruin of 6 heralds' destruction. Sink.
Stop!
So can we do even 1 damage? Yes, we can.
Time to spice things up.
You.
Let's see. Gamatsu has the Falconer Warrior Edition coming to the PS5, PS4 on August 5th in Japan. Which I feel like the Falconer was a game that came out not too long ago and not too much critical acclaim.
I did it. I
If
won.
it's the game I'm thinking about. If it's a different game, then I guess I've never heard of it. Right. So mission-wise, we now just need like 1 more Bloodcraft, and there's no way I'm gonna try for a Runecraft victory. That would be insanity. Let's see. Here we have a game. Gamatsu article. Curved Space has been delayed to June 29th for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and July 13th for Switch.
Time to get
I
started.
don't recognize this game, Curved
Fighting in
Space.
despair, all you know?
Let's see. Gamatsu has the PlayStation 5 DualSense wireless controller colors Midnight Black and Cosmic Red are announced. Which, okay, those look nice. Like, it would be much more helpful if the PlayStation 5 was purchasable by most people. Gamatsu has the E3 2021 online portal and app details. Little leaks or little trickles of details, not really any solid information or interesting information. Let's see. Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance is coming to Xbox Game Pass for console, cloud, and PC on day 1. This is a 4-player co-op action RPG, according to Gamatsu.
Spinball, spin.
Several games were announced as gold, as going gold, as in they're ready to be shipped or close to being ready to be shipped. Going gold really doesn't mean a lot with every game having day 1 patches these days. But I guess the thought is once you admit something is gone gold, you can no longer delay it.
Me
Blood
whiskers!
awakening.
Let's see. Beautiful Desolation for PS4 and Switch extended gameplay videos have been released according to Gamatsu.
Where will our journey take us?
Ghost Runner 2 has been announced for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. According to Gamatsu, we're just going through all the Gamatsu articles. Let's see. 3 damage to a random enemy.
Go! Go!
It's a weird card because it gets us benefit for having different cards of different names in your deck.
Feel my fury.
Let's see. Famitsu has the sales, so updated twice. So new Pokemon Snap is in the #1 spot, then Monster Hunter Rise, and Resident Evil Village. Well, for the PS4, interesting. Resident Evil Village for the PS5 is way down here. Resident Evil Village for the Switch, I assume, is non-existent. So here you can just compare the weekly sales between PS4 and PS5. It's less than half. It's kind of surprising to see any horror game, even Resident Evil Village, make it to the top 3, because there's just so many people that don't want to play horror games. And then otherwise we have pretty much the same old people. And then they kind of updated the information to include more numbers later down. Judgment and R-Type Final 2. Then they updated it again. Are they just updating different weeks now? That doesn't make sense to have the updates all on one page.
Rage empowers me.
Let's see.
Fresh mango
That.
melons and potion fruit.
Hey, check this out. This world is cowardly creatures.
Will it be crimson red?
I'll do whatever is in my power.
TechRaptor has an announcement that they're supporting mental health tech. Raptor is now partnered with Safe in Our World, which is not a charity or anything I've ever heard of, but okay. Let's see. Umatsu has Neo, The World Ends With You opening movie and Japanese commercials. You want to check those out. Trying to rush here. Akiba's Trip, Hellbound and Debriefed launches July 20th in North America and July 23rd in Europe. I guess that is the first announcement we've had that is coming to the West. We kind of knew it was coming to the West, or it felt like it was coming to the West at least. 2 months after the Japanese release, this is the HD rebuild or remaster of the original Akiba's Strip game. Which, yeah, at that point, it makes a lot of sense to play the first game in the series, then go play the second game, or even wait to see if the second game gets a HD remaster. I don't know if the graphics really have a demand for a remaster so
Done
much
for.
for either games, but this is the first time I think it's been on Steam also for the first game. Gamatsu has the Wing of Darkness launch trailer. Let's see what this looks like. Is this a shoot 'em up game? It's a 3D mech game in space, which at a certain level that kind of is like a Star Fox game. So I could see myself potentially thinking about playing something like that. I don't know if I'd actually succeed trying to play a game like that or not. So, let's see. Hit. Do we want to hit 10? Can we get to 14 damage? Okay. Kinda can't do this and other things.
I shall give birth to a new world.
This is as far as I can go.
Freshness guarantee.
Cowardly creatures.
Could have evolved
Cowardly
that
creatures. No!
and done 2 more damage. Yeah, here's Wings of Darkness on Steam, and there's slightly more images if they want to load.
The real battle begins.
Destruction and despair are sublime.
It might be
But my
doable.
will
World
survives.
cycles on.
Maybe, maybe not. Seems like it's all anime girls running the mechs. Okay.
There is no escape from the apocalypse to come.
Okay, this one's all me.
The gods will know.
No!
Shall meet again.
Freshness
No!
Hit that, I suppose.
Fruit flies. I don't offer salvation, just
So we've got
gratitude.
some more Steam games we need to clear up because we're not quite to the end or towards a point where I feel safe to leave the rest for Monday. Let's see. 3 damage and 3 damage is not enough. 3 damage and then restore 3 damage. It's probably not enough. We do 2 damage. 10 enemy follower.
See you all next festival.
You must make the first move.
Go! Go!
Where should I drop the oops? My hand slipped.
Here we have a game called Titan Nebula. Sorry, I went quiet there. This just looks like a first-person shooter, low polygon game. $4.49. Not making it to the fall list. Here we have a game called Heterodox, which looks like it's just a dungeon crawler game, kind of asset flippy. Seems like you're just jumping around a lot of ways in the videos. They're just goofing off.
in my power.
It's early access, $11.99. Third party EULA, allegedly full English audio. Okay. We've got a 9. Can we do something to stop a 9? We give that 10, but that really wouldn't help. Could do that.
It's your throw.
This is as far as I can go.
Yeah, I think that's as good as I could get. Here we have a game on Steam called Network, which just looks like a low effort Russian horror game. Yep, and the videos and the pictures don't want to load. It's $2.99 Russian full audio.
I lost. You're tough.
Still losing. Here we have a game called Topsy Turvy, which is an interesting twist on Marble Madness. As a Marble Madness clone. If anything, it kind of makes more sense to have a game where you're playing and manipulating a top versus a marble, although animating a top back in that day probably would have been very difficult to do, if not impossible. This is $4.49 English only. Problem here, of course, is Marble Madness is not much of a game. Even though it's fairly well known, it is not actually that good. One more try. Then maybe one more try. Here we have a game called The Awakening of Mummies, which is tagged as a puzzle board game and dungeon crawler.
Time to get started.
Kind of looks like it's a
Is fighting
kiddie
and
game.
despair
It kind
all
of
you
looks
know?
like it might have been a cell phone game. It's positive so far for $1.59. English, Portuguese, Brazil. I'm going to put this one on the follow list just to see, just to think about it a little bit more and see if maybe there is something here. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. It's probably there isn't. Here we have a game on Steam called 100 Days Winemaking Simulator, which, yeah, maybe I'd want to play this because at least this is a sim doing something different than most other sims or most other farming sims, because it's actually about the crop of the grapes and the wine, not just, oh, you tilled the fills and thus the crops will grow better. $22.49 is pretty expensive though, so that only gets it to the follow list, and I would definitely have to think long and hard about that. Let's see. Next we have a game called The Other Rosie's Road of Love, which looks like it's a RPG game with kind of an anime inspired style, although it's kind of its own unique art style. But then it's just back to kind of pixely art styles for the actual gameplay. Casual turn-based RPG. Yeah, I just don't think there's enough game here. $4.24 English and Chinese. Yeah. I'm gonna have to pass on that. Here we have a game called Steam Trophy, which just looks like garbage. Early access $1.49, English only. Seems to be a side-scrolling shoot 'em up, for lack of a better term.
Spin ball, spin!
Here's that game they talked about called Before We Leave, which overall is very positive, so I'm going to put it on the follow list, even though Tech Raptor didn't seem too hot on it. Although, in all fairness, if these images were loading, there is definitely some boring looking gameplay here that I'd have to think about, because I'm not sure I really want to play something like this. A non-violent city building game. Maybe there's a sales pitch there, maybe not.
Fresh manna melons and potion fruit.
Next, we have a game on Steam called Roll, which looks like it's some kind of clicker game.
Embrace them in
And
your fiery gale, solar
yeah,
wind,
that doesn't look
fruit
interesting.
flies.
$2.99. They're saying it's close to Hexcel's Infinite, which I don't feel like there's a good comparison there.
Though I set, I will rise again.
Do not seek what is not there. Go! Go! Awaken, for the end is near.
There we go. An extra play point. Let's see. Next we have Getsu Fumadin Undying Moon from Konami. It's tagged as a Roguevania game. It's weird that Konami would have a game even to put out just out of nowhere
Life's
with
a
no
game.
advertisement.
May as well have fun.
This does kind of feel like that ancient Japanese scroll painting art style. Not sure that there's enough of a game here, but yeah, I've got to put this on the follow list. It's early access, $24.99. Konami shouldn't be putting things out early access. A bunch of languages. Let's see. Draw a card. I think that's what we want to do.
Has a different value. The next life.
Next, we have a game on Steam called The Companion, which
Smiles are the best
just seems like it's some colorful landscapes. Cinematic gaming experience. Open world emotional, $12.74 English full audio. I guess I'll put this on the follow list and see if people like it, but I bet it's nothing. Alright.
The hour of judgment has come.
Will it be crimson red?
Signature in there.
Again.
Let's see.
Beloved little sister.
Here we have a game on Steam called Lost Ruins
We'll
from
lift some heavy scriptures.
Terry Games Dungeon. This is tagged as a Metroidvania anime platformer. I think we've seen this before, and it's already rated very positive, 81%, so I can just immediately take it from the follow list to the wish list, $19.99. And I suppose there is just that element there where if I had more money more time and energy, I would maybe play this game as soon as possible and make a big effort around it,
Where I truly shine.
because that does have kind of that instant impulse thought. See, just looking at this game, this was the one where a lot of the monsters were in the same outfits, and so there was weirdness there, you know, all kind of anime girl monster things. Felt like it was somewhat like the Shantae games with more of a Metroidvania vibe. And I can't really show it, but Fantasy Tavern Sextet SEXTET Volume 3 Postlude Days is now on Steam. They've kind of very quickly put out this adult raunchy visual novel series. It's $10.39 discounted right now on Japanese full audio. I feel like each of these games came out less than a month ago. Yeah, if we look here, December 14th was the first game, and it's 91% positive. February 18th was the second game, and it's 87% positive. And now May 13th is the third game, and right now it's 95% positive. Let's see. What damage to enemy follower? Destroy an enemy follower. Let's just do this.
And that concludes today's sermon.
Hey, check this out.
But yeah, I guess I can't complain that the trilogy is successful on Steam, can I? Let's see. Gamatsu has Guilty Gear Strive second open beta test starter guide video. Also, let's see. Introducing a character called I Know. I Know.
Look to the zenith. There, I will rise.
Let's see.
I shall
Oh,
give
this
birth.
looks like an interesting fighting game. What was the name of this? Guilty Gear? Guilty Gear Strive. Okay. If I attack, I lose. I've got to figure out a way to not lose.
Cry for me.
By your will, O Lord.
Blood and pain awaken me.
Though I set, I will rise again.
Well, if I can make it to the next turn, I might be able to win.
I lost. You're
Nope.
tough.
Let's see. The King of Fighters 15, Leona Haydern trailer and screenshots. So let's look at this new. Seems like all the fighting games want to put out their fighters and their announcements at the same time. So you've got a military gear lady with big blue ponytail and big bouncy boobs, so I guess King of Fighters has no problem with that. And then they seem to have some stun lock attacks that they can also do from the looks of it. Yeah, I really haven't made a step forward as far as far as which, if any, fighting games I want to cover. I've just got... I talked about that far too early, frankly, and I've just got too many other games already on the backlist. Gamatsu has Samurai Warriors 5 theme song trailer, 4th official live stream set for May 27th. But if anybody's interested in that. And then the Scarlet Nexus anime begins airing on July 1st, which I assume, because there's a Scarlet Nexus video game, that would explain why Gamatsu is talking about it. Seems like there's some weird kind of monsters that they're fighting. There really hasn't been a lot of success as far as these cross-media promotions. I can't think of a single video game that got a good anime that went back to that also was a good video game. Maybe you could say the Castlevania anime, which there is the new, I think, final season of the Castlevania Netflix anime is now out. I haven't watched it yet. But the thing there is also that there was many years separating the last Castlevania game to be released and Netflix making the Castlevania anime. It wasn't done at the same time to really promote each other. Here we have the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles on Steam. Which, okay. It's coming out July 2021, so it's premature really to put on the follow list, but I'll do it anyways. It's going to be $39.99 English, no audio, no full audio there. We of course will have to keep an eye out on it to see if it's ported well enough, since it's basically a Game Boy game. It shouldn't be that hard to port. Here we have Earth Defense Force World Brothers, which is a little polygon Earth Defense Force games. I don't think I'd want to play this. It's coming out May 27th. Apparently full audio for every language it supports. If I'm gonna fight giant alien bugs, I kind of want to see the giant alien bugs. I don't want to be trapped. Yeah, I don't want to be trapped looking at low blocky games. Gamatsu has Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yabai Hinokami Kaputon, adding Kyojuro Rengoku. So yet another character in that fighting game. Let's see. Yawning again. YouTube's blog put out a survey on how people greet their audiences, and hey guys from 2016 to 2020 is the one that won. Whereas, what's up, good morning, hi guys, alright, hey everyone, hello everyone, hi everyone, what's going on, what is up, like, so, yeah, probably not super useful information. Like, you gotta say something, or you could say nothing, certainly that would be creepy and weird. But I gotta say something. I try to be more either subconsciously or consciously. I have chosen to be a bit more gender non-specific, and I say hey everyone, or hey everybody. That's what I say, which does not immediately assume that everybody listening to me is a male, guy, or go by the phrase guy. Although in a lot of cases, I kind of do use the name guy to not be actually gender specific anyways. But I'm sure some people take it that way, even if it's not intended that way. And honestly, that was just kind of a random choice on my part. I didn't think it through at all. Do I want to do this?
Life's a gamble.
I think we
May
can.
as well have fun.
Freshness guaranteed!
Like that. Here we have a game on Steam, Perfect Apocalypse Patches Inferno, which looks like it's a visual novel with cat characters. It's kind of got a rough animation style, but it's good enough. So I'm gonna put this on the follow list, even without looking at the price. $6.99 English only. Let's see, I think that puts us in a decent position here. We've been going 2 hours and 41 minutes. I don't really need to do any fall list cleanup today. That leaves us with a decent amount of other things to talk about. Let's see.
Wingless child, let the heavens be your shepherd.
9,
Go!
11.
Are you having? Will it be crimson red?
So if I can just get one. If I can just get like one victory here, I think we can call it a day. And then I'll probably just try and
The hour of judgment has come.
continue recording things. Or honestly, I'm gonna go to sleep first. Okay, can we do 1 damage? Rush.
My beloved little sister.
Excess.
What does this do? Draw a card, lose 1 play point. Alright, so I'm just gonna go down my Twitter feed
Impressed?
and see if there's any new news worth talking about. Oh, I suppose it's not really worth talking about, but Anita Sarkeesian apparently is on the grift again, or according to some people, or according to others, she's just doing her thing. So take it either way. But she's back to I think asking people to support her. Draw a card.
Each life has a different value.
To desire transformation is sin.
Hey, check this out!
If you would destroy the garden, how short-sighted.
I never get a chance
How
to speak.
short-sighted.
There we go. Yeah, go ahead and end there.
Impressed? You ain't seen nothing yet.
Does this outfit make me look too bony?
See, I'm still scrolling down.
Perhaps you
Yep.
can bring change.
On to the next life.
I shall give birth to a new world.
ESA once again put out that article and retweeted it. Video games help children improve literacy, communication, and mental health. So that they're gonna squeeze as much gold out of that, I'm sure. Finally.
One arrow shower, and it's goodbye, Evo. You're too strong.
It took forever.
I did it. I won.
It is nice to end a stream though and not have anything more to do on Shadowverse. More than any other free-to-play collectible card game that I've played. Shadowverse just abruptly ends as soon as those daily quests are done. Sure, I could grind out, but getting more victories and getting more higher ranks does not give you a monthly reward of gold or really anything of real importance from what I know. So there's kind of no reason to play at all when you have this scenario. Yeah. So, like, kind of the only bit of news here we have is there's a senior games writer for Sucker Punch Production in Bellevue, Washington listed. And let's see if we can drag that. And then I'll just check my other feeds just to see if any new bit of news has happened. And I don't think it has. And then we can call it a day. Hopefully I don't end up working on OBS any further. I don't really have anything more to do, at least off the top of my head. Maybe I'll get some more ideas later in a year or two and do something more. Or get more ambitious. Alright, well, then that's going to be it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching.